It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin, Nielsen, and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Oil Stream podcast and live stream. It's Nielsen and Tommy Gazzola, brought to you by our friends at Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen, where they have your Oilers jersey cups. Just go and get the Oilers meal, and you're going to get hooked up with one of these very convenient and good-sized, hard-quality cups. Tommy, this is some quality plastic right here, buddy.
You would know because you use and abuse cups and always have. I know you. You're a cup abuser.
It's a weird thing to say, but yeah, I guess I probably am, Tommy. I guess I probably am. What's new, buddy? Back to Costco again. What's up with going to Costco on Oil Stream days?
I know. Something to talk about mostly, and I know people can relate about the Costco sojourns, but I had to go and get my glasses. I put new lenses into some frames, and then I had to get a retorque after my tire rotation. Very important. And then what else? Oh, they didn't have the membership card printer working last time I was there because I had to get a new membership card, and they had that. So I got that done, and then I got some gas. So it was a good jaunt, and I'm not going to lie to you, it was oddly satisfying.
You got home and kind of laid back, put your feet up. That's a good Costco trip right there.
My day is complete.
I went to Walmart by the station there to pick up some groceries after the show.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes you'll get that cashier who thinks they're hilarious, right? So I go through this. I heard him talking to the guy in front of me, and I was like, I did like the rock eye roll. I was like, here we go. And so I slide up there, but I will give this dude credit. Like, maybe it's because of the times that we're in, or maybe it's the fact that this guy grinded it out. He must have told me 12 to 14 jokes, and I was like awkwardly laughing at some of them, legitimately laughing at others. But in this day and age, I just appreciated a guy trying to get a laugh at work,
I understand, and I can appreciate that. The timing and your mood has to be right. Do you think maybe he was high? Or do you think he was legitimately just going for it?
He was just a really nice guy.
and I'm not saying that with any malice, but sometimes some people get on the funky sticks and, they think they're comedians. But if that's just genuine him being him, then fine. I admire that to an extent.
Tommy, did you hear the one about the pizza?
Please tell me.
No, I can't. It was too cheesy.
Oh my God.
It was a steady diet of these
I have to go
over and over again. Like it was so bad. It was so bad that I was like, if I was Netflix, I'd offer that dude a special right now, right behind the till. Just give this guy his big moment.
They give anybody a special these days.
That's true. They do.
Yeah.
All right. Couple of comments here in the live stream. CJ Beck 5, who's a lock shopper. He's always in the lock shop with Haas and I. He says, Jets fan here again. Don't tell my friends. And it's okay as a Jets fan to spy on what's going on, with Edmonton and Vancouver. So we'll get to that. Dangle Dump 94 says, I'm smashing a spicy chicken listening to you guys. Is there a better combo? I don't think so. And you're right, There isn't. And Oilers in 4 says, all that stuff, Tommy, and no groceries? I can't go to Costco without spending $400 on goods.
I'm glad I didn't wander into the store. Like, I knew my route really well. And I was like, if I get stuck walking through any of those aisles, I wind up with like $200 worth of stuff. It's what happens there. It's the Costco trap. I worked in the tire shop there when I was like 18 till I was 21. I know all about the Costco trap. You have to be determined not to allow yourself to get caught in its web.
Yeah, every time I go in there, I leave with about 15 of these little USB things. I'm always like, I could use some additional storage. This is very convenient. So,
I need 78 gigs worth of USB storage. Sure.
All right, Tommy. Oilers are down 3-0. With the way they've been playing as of late, what was going through your mind when they gave up that third goal and fell behind 3-0?
It's over. I honestly thought, I'm like, this is going to get ugly. Mike Smith is going to get the yank. We're going to have to talk about it on the post-game show. There was one little thought in the back of my mind that says, well, if they get one before the period ends, maybe they give themselves hope. You knew Vancouver was struggling mightily. They had just 2 wins in their last 11 going into that game. Edmonton on the flip side, 9 wins in its last 11. So if they got that one at the end of the period, I thought it might give them a little bit of hope. It was a fleeting thought. I'll fully admit it. I was ready for an onslaught of angry tweets and calls last night and texts, and they get that one. And sure enough, no scoring in the second period. And then in the third, early in the third, they get the ball rolling and they cast a lot of doubt into the Canucks. Mike Smith locked it down. I thought we were going to have to talk about Mike Smith having a struggling performance, and especially that first goal. That first goal was awful. It was so bad. And he kind of joked about it post game, but I thought this game was going sideways in a hurry, Dusty, and I thought we were going to be talking about a bad loss. And lo and behold, they gutted it out, and all it did is built more belief in the fan base, probably within the team. And here they are setting themselves up real nice going into Thursday to tee up what will be an epic 3-game clash with the Leafs starting this weekend.
I don't know how many times you watched that first goal, but I must have watched it 20 times trying to figure out how that puck got through him, because it didn't squeak between his skate and the post. It went right under his pad. And the only thing I can think of is he kind of reached with his blocker a bit, like he was going to blocker it if it came in a little bit higher. And his pad must have just lifted up enough for that puck to squeak through. Because I know, what did he say after the game? He wouldn't play that any differently. And
right.
I mean, I kind of agree with him. I don't know how that thing got through him.
It's got to be something in the function of the pad. I know they have the pads now where there's this extra pad for their knees, so they don't really wear the knee pads anymore. Maybe it got caught. Maybe it left an 1.5-inch gap where the puck could slide through at the right perfect spot. And that might exactly be what happened. It's just a fluky, awful goal. I was hoping they would recover from it. They did not until they dug that 3-0 deficit and then found a way to chip their way back. That's a good win, character win. And I thought that game was bye-bye birdie.
It's not a secret. Let's stick with Mike Smith, because it was talked about post-game last night, the fact that Mike Smith had a few things to say in the first intermission. Few guys had things to say to Mike Smith in the first intermission. I mean, this is a guy who obviously plays with a ton of passion, both on and off the ice. I always wonder, asked this of Jamie McLennan a little bit today, and he said, it doesn't happen very often with goaltenders, but I think Mike Smith is a little bit of a unique breed from a mindset of goaltenders. Your thoughts on Mike Smith maybe being different than 90% of the other goalies in the league, where, he's okay getting into it and calling out some guys because he's okay if they do the same to him?
Well, yeah, a little bit of airing of grievances, which is hilarious. And sometimes you need a good shouting match, and it proved positive. And Mike Smith has been around the block. He's won. He's been part of Olympic teams. He's been an all-star. He's been on teams that have gone to a conference final. He's bounced around the league. Nobody's going to challenge him, really. They might tell him to F off after he says something that someone in the room doesn't like. But he kind of owned up to it with his play as well. And I think that it was this good reciprocal moment where they're like, all right, you're going to MF us, we're going to MF you back. But then on the ice, if you're going to be there for us, we'll chip away at this and find a way. I like it. And I like how they just said it like it is in the post game. Even Dave Tippett talked about it. Great. It's not always peaches and cream and everybody love everybody like Jackie Moon likes to preach, but that's good, man. These guys are challenging each other, and I like the response by everybody, because it did, again, pay off. And at the end of the night, we're talking about a wonderful moment.
A wonderful moment of unity in a game in which they came from behind and got the job done. And one of the things, and I talked about it a little bit this morning on the show, and if you're watching on the live stream, feel free to comment, ask us any questions, chirp us if you want. Same if you're watching on Facebook.com/TSN1260 as well. If you have not yet subscribed to the Oil Stream, what are you doing? Subscribe to the podcast. It's such a ridiculous move to watch this live stream and not subscribe to the podcast, Tommy.
How dare you? I'm insulted.
How dare you? Okay, so over this 12-game stretch, they've won 10 of 12. They've been in some different positions where they've fallen behind by 3. They've had to come back. They've had leads, let them slip away. They've had games where they didn't win, but I didn't even think they played that poorly. Is this patience within the game where the Oilers seem to stick to it? Is that something that comes entirely from the coaching staff and a veteran coaching staff that's starting to get in their heads? Or is it a sign of some of these guys and some of these leaders maturing in their National Hockey League career?
I think it's the latter. I think it's these guys starting to have this belief system in one another, not just saying, all right, Leon and Connor and maybe Nugent Hopkins are going to absolutely carry us the entire game. And it's kind of like this manifestation of this belief system within the group. And then you have the guys that are in the bottom six of the forward unit that you could look at and go, well, they're reliable. I can trust those guys. Hey, look at that. They scored for this team. And then all of a sudden you've got the defense that's also chipping in. And you look at the blue liners and you go, well, he's playing good. He's playing good. And then you go down the line, you have 8 guys. You're like, 8 guys are playing good. Geez, that 9th guy that hasn't played, which is Caleb Jones and got in yesterday, who had a good game, I thought. Now all of a sudden you're like, we can roll with anybody. So you do have that confidence in one another. You have the proof in the result within one another. And now it feels like it's starting to snowball. And this team, we're starting to go with, well, they're potentially a good team like they were last year, to the point where you're like, no, this might be the start of this window, which has been so elusive for this organization for so long. Perhaps this is the start of it actually coming to fruition, and this team potentially being a good team in the North Division, and then after this season in the Pacific Division.
Has the North become a little bit weaker than you thought it would be, Tommy, with Vancouver and Calgary and Montreal on a slide? Like, I thought this thing might come down to 6 teams battling for 4 playoff spots literally in the final week of the season. But are we seeing some separation between Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton? And could it just remain that way? Or do you think something still needs to play out with those other 4 teams?
I think Montreal's still going to be plucky and pesky, even though they got rid of Claude Julien today. I think they'll be in the mix. They'll wake up at some point. They'll take advantage of the Ottawa games like they did not do last night. I thought they should have won that game. Did not like that interference call at all on Gallagher, and I totally understand why he was pissed off. It's a bit silly. Anyway, that's beside the point. I think Calgary will bounce back, Dusty. They're a better team than what they've shown. They've clearly got to figure something out. We just saw them for 2 games, and they got schooled in 2 different style of games. They're better than what they're showing. And the Canucks are kind of where I expected them to be. I didn't think that they were going to be as good as they were last year. I think they lost too many key pieces. I wasn't sure about Braden Holtby. I didn't know if Thatcher Demko could be the guy just yet. And so, now we're seeing the Canucks and Sens kind of falling back, but I still think those other 5 teams are going to be duking it out for those 4 playoff spots. Really, I do.
I think one of the reasons that we've seen a little bit of separation are some teams that at this point of the year have not gone into, the Oilers started in a funk, but you see some of these other teams struggling right now. The one thing that Toronto, Edmonton, and Winnipeg all have in common, Tommy, they got the biggest guns in the North Division. You got McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nuge. You got Ehlers and Connor and Scheifele and Wheeler and now Dubois. And then you got Matthews and Marner and Tavares. And I think in this year where the North Division is just full of goals, and I think a part of that is because a lot of the blue lines in this division are suspect. I think having those top end guys are just going to be able to allow you to dictate what happens the rest of the way.
Dusty, I'll give Calgary honorable mention. I know Oiler fans generally don't care for Calgary stuff, but Gaudreau, legit. He can go quiet, obviously. Monahan, legit. He's been banged up. He can go quiet at times. Lindholm is excellent. We know Tkachuk can be an absolute pest, but full of skill and contribute points. Like, I think the Flames can go run and gun with anybody in the North Division. They're just out of sorts right now, and some injury woes here and there. I still am not counting them out whatsoever, but you're
Especially
right. It is
Markstrom.
A lot of firepower.
If with a healthy Markstrom, that's a game changer for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
All right. So Roussel has been fined $5,000. He's not going to step foot in this city again. I'll tell you that. I've got people waiting at the airport because that's my gig is Jesse Puljujarvi's Canadian father. But why in the world would you want to punch that face, Tommy? Like, what is yet? Like, we saw, who was it that, was it Smith that went after him in Ottawa too? Like, is he the most misunderstood guy? Who was it? Was it Dodonov that missed him with the hit and then smashed his own face into the ice? And then did Puljujarvi get him with an elbow, or why?
No.
Why did Roussel? Why did he try to do that? I don't understand.
I don't know. Like, I looked at it a couple of times and I'm like, did they just like slap at the puck and then Roussel got mad because he lost the puck battle and the puck didn't go to a Canuck? It was dumb. It was an Antoine Roussel move. Like, I generally like his game, and he's this pesky Parisian French guy from France. And the problem is with him is like, that's not a good place to choose your spot. That is an awful penalty to take, gets the fine. It was stupid. And I don't think Puljujarvi really did anything. I think, though, and I said it on postgame, I think at some point, Puljujarvi being so big and becoming stronger, he's going to catch someone one day, and there's going to be someone coming at him to throw knuckles with him, and he's going to have to answer. He can't just skate away. It's going to happen at some point where he is going to just hammer somebody because he's big, he's strong, he gets in there now, and he'll have to chuck him, and it's not going to be fun. It hurts to get punched in the face. He had his nose rearranged yesterday, but I think at some point maybe the light goes off in his head and he goes, hey, I'm bigger than most of these people. I can punch them in the face too, and it feels good to do it because I don't like getting punched in the face. I think that time will come, and I think he'll be fully capable of handling himself. Maybe someone has to have a talk with him, Darnell Nurse or something, be like, Jesse, when somebody punches you in the face, you can punch them back in the face. Yeah. It's okay to protect yourself, even in the NHL these days.
He did have a fight in the American League. Remember when he got sent down after Hitch was going to fix him and then didn't fix him, and they sent him down? He got in a fight in the American League. I mean, I don't think you don't want to waste one if you're Puljujarvi on a guy like Roussel. Like, you know, if you're going to get into one, get into someone who has similar experience to fighting with you. And as I tweeted, $5,000 fine for Roussel for punching a happy boy in the face. That's essentially the way I look at it. I also feel like Puljujarvi might actually just be going full serenity now, and then at one point just lose his shit and beat the hell out of somebody. You know, like
maybe it scares other guys off from thinking of giving him a shot to the beak. Honestly, if he goes berserk one time, that could be a warning shot across the bow to the rest of the National Hockey League. Like, okay, he's going to mix it up with you, and he can hurt you if he gets mad. We'll see if that happens, though. But I think there's going to be a time where he's going to have his first NHL fight.
Is he more Mike Comrie or Alex Semin when those gloves finally do come off?
I want to say Mike Comrie because Mike Comrie could chuck him for a little dude. And Alex Semin just had the paddle going. He was the doggy paddle. And you're like, what is that? Like, are you slapping that guy's back? What are you doing to Alex Semin? That is bad form.
That's what I want to do. We should, if you're watching right now, this is totally a topic for my show. The worst hockey fight you could ever imagine. Like, set up the worst fight. Alexander Semin versus who? What's Wayne Gretzky. Fight look like? Wayne Gretzky. Yeah, that'd be a good one too.
Just open-handed slaps to the face.
Oh, that'd be too good. All right, so I really like Gaetan Haas. I think Gaetan Haas, he moves well, gets around the ice well. I think he's pretty darn smart. He's a little shifty. He's got a few little one-on-one moves that I think, are going to pay off at 1 or 2 points in this season, Tommy. He hasn't played a lot of games yet because of his own health, but is that a guy who can solidify your bottom six in the middle? Like, is that a guy that you think can become a pretty big part as far as bottom six parts go for this team?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. And that was kind of my hope for him going into the season. I like his speed. I like his tenacity. It seems like he's sturdier when he goes into puck battles and mixes it up in the corners. And you're seeing him control the puck a little bit more, Dusty. He's not trying to get rid of it right away. He takes that extra second to try to find a play. I like the progression of Gaetan Haas. I like the fact that he's a penalty killer. I know Matty Cassian likes to joke that he skates 1,000,000 miles and he doesn't really do a ton, but I disagree with that to a certain extent. I think Gaetan Haas has been excellent. Like, I think he sees there's an opportunity for him to take that fourth line role and just run with it and then chip in on the PK. And he's doing it. And you're right. Like, he'll get his looks offensively and he might tuck in a few. I think this has been a good revelation for the Oilers. And don't get me wrong, like, maybe Haas goes cold or maybe his style of play doesn't stack up well with another team. Maybe it's Toronto. I don't know. And you might need to dip into the depth and and say, hey, Kyle Turris, we might need you, or hey, Devin Shore, we might need you. So, but in the interim, I really like what Gaetan Haas is providing to this team, and I hope it just continues to get better and expand.
All right, before we wrap up, I want to be as fair as we possibly can here in the oil stream, Tommy, and I've been chirping Jack pretty hard about his outfits, but I'll say this. I thought last night he looked pretty sharp. I thought that was one of his best looks. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Very sharp. Kudos where kudos is due. I took my cracks at him a couple of times last week. He texted me and told me to F off in a nice way. So you're right. Thank you for bringing that up. And Andy Devlin, the Oilers team photographer, actually texted me. He's like, you better give Jack props for his combination tonight. And I looked at it one more time. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can't just be harsh on him. He looked good last night.
Yeah, I thought he looked pretty solid.
And Belzy did great.
Yeah, it was good to see Belly get an opportunity. It's all these guys who've been on two guys and a goalie that are getting a crack at this. I love it.
Hey, funny that. I wonder who's watching this program. Interesting, is it not?
I'm trying to think who you're talking about.
I don't know. It could be.
Well, you text me after. We'll talk after.
I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass, but somebody's clearly seeing them on two guys and a goalie, and wherever we have them on, and they're like, hey, they're not bad. They're actually really good. I thought Belzy got stronger as the night went on too.
And it's not easy. I'll say this about, because I'll see people be critical of Gager or Sean Brown when he had the opportunity, or Belly last night maybe stumbled a little bit at the beginning. Yep. But these guys have never been put in that spot ever. Like Struddy has at least been doing media for 8 years. Gager's been doing two guys and a goalie with me for 2 years now. But it's almost not. I think it's great they're getting these opportunities because I think there's a lot of potential there. But I wouldn't criticize these guys because they've never been in this spot before. That's like skipping 5 steps and being like, sit beside Gene Principe, who's been doing it and is one of the smoothest pros for 25 years. That's not an easy spot for those guys.
There's a million things happening all at once behind the scenes that can confuse you when you get on TV for the first time. And Sean, to his credit, we actually tried to bring him on Oilers TV for the postseason in 2017. We had a contract signed. We did a bunch of dry run mock shows with him. It was him and it was him and Chris Westcott, because when I was on the road with the team, Westcott was back in studio. And it was the same thing. I was like, Sean, just rely on your instincts. You know the game as a player. You know the game as a coach. We'll tee you up in a way where you could just talk like you're having a conversation with me, but there's a camera and some lights on us. And you saw him with the notepad yesterday in the first segment. And I noticed right away in the second segment, the notepad was at the far end of the table. And it was just him having a conversation with Gene, relying on what he knows about the game. And I talked to him right after that hit. He was texting me back and forth. And he's like, Tom, it was like when we did our show together, or we tried to get the show going for the playoffs. And it just felt good in that second segment. And I'm like, Sean, that's it. Onward and upward. On Thursday, you're going to be great. And here's the funny thing. So we almost had him, and it got kiboshed by one of our VPs the night before game 1 of the first round. And it left me and Westcott tap dancing like fools for like 10 minutes in some weird segments. And we were just we were so pissed off at our VP. We're like, what a dumb move. And to this day, I still look at that and go, yeah, that's all you need to know about the leadership there.
Longest episode we've had here of the Oil Stream, but we can't wrap up without a prediction for Thursday. What do you expect from the Canucks, who are obviously licking their wounds right now? The Oilers should be feeling pretty darn good about themselves, Tommy. So what happens Thursday?
It's going to be a close game. I think it will be, and the Canucks will come out with a lot of gusto. I do think the Oilers will win. I don't think they're going to dig a hole, but I think it's going to be a tight, close checking game.
Excellent, buddy. I agree. I think they'll probably win that game, which sets the stage for a huge 3-game stretch against the Leafs, which is going to be absolutely tremendous. Looking forward to that one. Tommy, I'm sure you got to run back for your afternoon visit at Costco, so I'll let you go, buddy, and we'll chat on Friday, okay?
Hey, they've got enough of my money already today, but I'll talk to you Friday, yes.
All right, see you later, buddy.